everyone, it's Nicole from Crayons, Pencils, and Students Oh My, and today I'm here with you to share two of the class folders that I will be using in my room this year. The first one is a writing folder for Writer's Workshop, and the second one is my take-home folders. I wanted to share my system with you just so that you could get some ideas to use in your own classroom, and I know that the system of take-home folders can always be like a time-consuming task, and I figured I would share how I do it, and hopefully maybe this can help you in your own classroom. And so here we go. The first one, the green folder, is going to be my students' writing folders. I went to a week-long literacy training this year on Writer's Workshop and Reader's Workshop, and we are expected in pre-K to at least expose the students to some of the workshop model concepts, and one of the ways that I'm going to do that is by using a writing folder. Last year I used composition notebooks for free write time and for prompted writing time, but this year I'm going to be using the writer's folder. I'm going to give the students a variety of paper choices that use the Foundations writing lines, because that is the phonics program and handwriting program that our district has adopted, and the students will use that in kindergarten on up. They actually use it all the way up to 3rd grade. So by exposing them when they're with me to the alphabet and Foundations and to the writing paper and the skyline and the worm line and the grass line and the plane line, it helps them to be able to succeed in those upper grade levels. So I'm going to be using these folders. On the front of the folder, it just says the student's name and then writing folder, and I will be making these available in my Teachers Pay Teacher Store as an editable label for the front of the writing folders. And then in the inside there are two pockets. The first pocket says go, I'm working on this, and then the other side says stop, I'm finished for now. In my training they made it very clear that the stop side should say finished for now, because at any point a writer could go back into that pile of work and work on something that they thought they were finished with but make some improvements to it. So I made sure to make these labels to go with the workshop model. I also purchased a prong folder because during the year after we get started with this, I will be adding like a page protector and some different words in there. So probably by the end of the year, I will have a personal word wall for each child in my class in this folder. I will also have some of the goals for their writing. So our vertical team in our building, so pre-K through 2, created writing rubrics that all align, starting with pre-K all the way up to 2nd grade, so that each teacher is covering things in their classroom that will help the teacher in the next grade level. And we made sure that the things that we were working on would allow students to get to where they need to be by 2nd grade. So we're going to add that into the writing folder too, but for the beginning of the year I'm starting just like this. The students will be in charge of getting their own writing folder, so that's going to be difficult in pre-K in September because a lot of them don't even know their names. So starting simple, adding more as the year goes on, and only for those students who are ready to handle it. Another thing that I learned in my training in that is in pre-K, once a child is reading, you need to treat them like a reader, which is basically like treating them like a kindergartner. So for the Readers and Writers Workshop model, once I have students reading at a level A, I can start to push them to do some of the things expected of them in kindergarten. So I also am going to keep that in mind this school year. And if you would like more information on that, I can do a whole separate video on the Readers and Writers Workshop. The second thing that I'm going to share with you are my take-home folders. I have gotten my take-home folder down to a science. I show parents this at back to school orientation before school even starts. I tell them that this is like the be-all end-all. Please do not lose this, please do not misplace this. Like, it has everything that you're ever going to need in it, and this is like my #1 way of communicating with you. Last year for school home communication, I only used these folders for my entire class except for one student, and that one student had a composition notebook because he just needed a little bit more communication to be had with mom, and I didn't want to do it in front of the other families at pickup because I didn't want to embarrass that child or mom. So we both decided together to do a notebook that I could write in. while that was a little time consuming and I didn't get to it every day, Mom did understand that sometimes there were things that popped up and I wouldn't be able to get to it, and she could always shoot me an email if she needed an answer to a question. Also, she could always come in to meet with me at any time throughout the day, and I would set aside a couple of minutes to talk to her and reset on what our game plan should be for the following week. So on this take home folder, I created labels. Inside this apple is the student's first and last name, and I just put a sticky note over it to protect their privacy. It says take home folder, and this year I added a note on the front that says please return this folder to school every day. When a child forgets this folder, it really does kind of throw a wrench into the plans, because I do use it for communication with parents, and I send home a behavior log every single day. So they really do need it. And in pre-K, with the amount of work that they're doing, like creating every day, they really need their folder to be able to take it home. My mailboxes are numbered, that way I don't need to relabel them with names every year. So I put the number of the mailbox, and that way at the beginning of the year, when my assistant and I are putting folders into mailboxes, it's a lot easier for us to find where it goes. I numbered them and put them in alphabetical order. That's how each student got their number. I don't tell them their numbers at first, but eventually they just memorize it, and when they're ready to put things in their folders themselves, they already kind of know what their numbers are. So like the other folder, this folder is a pronged folder. It has two sides. The first side says back to school, so all the papers on this side go back to school. Now let me grab what else goes in this side. Give me 1 second. The other thing that goes in this side is their behavior log calendar. So what happens is every day my students use this clip chart, and this is also kept in their folder all year. Everybody starts on green, and you can move up or down based on the choices that you make. You literally have until the last minute of school to move up or down, and I will go back into your behavior calendar and change your dot. I had no problems with this last year. The students were really receptive to it. I know that there's a lot about getting rid of the clip chart, but in all honesty, like, my students were not asked to move their clip down in front of their peers. They were only asked to move their clip up in front of their peers for positive reinforcement. Okay, so I'm sorry, my camera ended up dying and I had to recharge the battery, but basically where I left off was saying that in my classroom the clip chart really worked well. My students weren't ever asked to move their clip down in front of their peers. I would pull them aside, we would have like a quick little conference about what was going on, and then we would quietly move it while their peers were engaged in something else. And it worked really well in my classroom. I feel like for pre-K, the students need something tangible and something visual that they can see. Otherwise, they completely forget what happened. I think that it works well for them. I'm happy with it. But if I had my class this year and it didn't seem to work for them, then I would definitely change it to something else. But for me, the clip chart worked. I didn't feel like I was scarring any of my students, and hopefully I don't receive any backlash on using a clip chart. But really it was more so like a positive thing than anything else. After that, in my folders, like I said, I use the prong folders. I have a homeschool communication log. There is a school side and a home side and a place to write the date. Either I can initiate the conversation, or my parent can initiate the conversation. Last year, parents would put things like, so-and-so is getting picked up today instead of riding the bus. I sent in an extra change of clothes. I sent in a snack. And they would ask any questions that they might have that were like quick questions that they could just write down and I could write back. It worked really well. My parents really liked it. I think that it made it so that it wasn't nerve-wracking to ask me a question, which was really, really good. So I ended up putting in 2 this year. I only put in 1 last year, but I had parents run out of space and then they just wouldn't write anything to me anymore. So I put 2 this year. And then the back pocket are all things to go home. So these are things that are going to go home and stay at home. Like, this is the letter that my parents receive on the first day of school in the pocket or in their take home folder about our clip chart and how it works. I also explained this clip chart at our orientation, but just as a reminder, and for parents that didn't get to go to the orientation so they know what it's all about. I will often put like paper, so their behavior calendar will be here, but if I have paperwork that needs to be filled out and sent back into school, I put it on this side, like field trip forms, emergency forms, things like that. Book orders, I put on that side. Anything like student work, monthly newsletters, all of that goes in the keep at home side. So that's basically my take-home folder setup. It really does work well for me. It takes no longer than 3 minutes to go through and do the behavior chart for each student every day. I just use a bingo dot marker, and my assistant usually will help me out with that. In the beginning of the school year, it does take longer because my students are only 4 and some of them are 3. So they're really not ready to stuff their own folders yet. So that takes a little bit of time, but having their names and numbers on here really helps to quicken up that process. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about the writing folder or the take-home folder, please be sure to leave a comment down below. I will be posting these to my Teachers Pay Teachers store in like an editable format so that you can use them and insert your students' names in there. And I hope that you enjoy your day. If you like this video, please be sure to share, like, and subscribe so that it makes its way to as many teachers as possible. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.